Rich Dad, Poor Dad. User: Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert T. Kiyosaki. Chapter 1. Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Robert Kiyosaki introduces the two most influential fathers in his life. One was his biological father, whom he calls his poor dad, a highly educated man with a PhD who worked as a government employee. The other was the father of his best friend Mike, whom he calls his rich dad, an entrepreneur who did not complete 8th grade. Despite both working hard and earning significant incomes, their financial outcomes were drastically different. The two fathers provided conflicting advice regarding money and education. One father would say,
"The love of money is the root of all evil."
the other would say,
"The lack of money is the root of all evil."
one father recommended,
"Study hard so you can find a good company to work for."
the other advised.
"Study hard so you can find a good company to buy."
One father believed in job security and working for a paycheck, while the other believed in building assets and having money work for him. Kiyosaki reflects on how having two fathers allowed him to think critically about differing viewpoints, rather than simply accepting one perspective. He learned that the approach to money is rarely taught in schools, leading to a poor financial mindset for many who follow traditional educational paths. He emphasizes the importance of financial education over merely academic achievements to avoid future financial struggles. The author observes that one father spoke negatively about money, saying,
"I can't afford it."
while the other forbade those words and insisted he say.
"How can I afford it?"
This distinction in attitudes shaped their financial realities. One father would say,
"I'm not interested in money. It doesn't matter."
while the other saw money as power and a tool for opportunity. One father believed that the rich should pay more in taxes to take care of those less fortunate, while the other said,
"Taxes punish those who produce and reward those who don't produce."
acknowledging the power of thoughts, Kiyosaki chooses to follow the principles of his rich dad, who focused on financial competence and self-reliance. He learned that there is a difference between being poor and being broke. Broke is temporary, and poor is eternal. The poor dad believed in living within his means, while the rich dad constantly pushed his means to expand. Kiyosaki shares key differences in their philosophies about careers, investments, and financial management. He decides to pursue the lessons offered by his rich dad, focusing on understanding and managing money effectively rather than relying solely on formal education or job security. His rich dad taught him that money is one form of power, but financial education is more powerful. The inclusion of Robert Frost's poem, "The Road Not Taken," symbolizes the importance of choices in life. Kiyosaki's decision to embrace his rich dad's financial teachings marked a pivotal moment in his life, impacting his approach to wealth and education. After 30 years of education from his rich dad, Kiyosaki outlines 6 essential lessons about money.
The rich don't work for money. Why teach financial literacy? Mind your own business. The history of taxes and the power of corporations. The rich invent money. Work to learn. Don't work for money.
Kiyosaki emphasizes these lessons as guideposts for achieving financial literacy and building wealth. The road not taken made all the difference in his financial journey. Chapter 2, Lesson 1, The Rich Don't Work for Money. At the age of 9, Robert Kiyosaki reflects on his desire to become rich after feeling excluded by wealthier classmates. He and his best friend Mike feel left out because they are not part of the in crowd of rich kids. This sparks a determination to find a way to make money. His poor dad's advice, though minimal, leads him to partner with Mike to devise means of earning money. They embark on a creative but misguided venture to melt lead from toothpaste tubes to create nickels, believing they can manufacture their own coins. This plan exposes them to the realities of counterfeiting and legality when Mike's father explains that what they are attempting is illegal. Their initial venture ends in disappointment. When they tell Mike's father about their failure, he gives them an important lesson.
"You're only poor if you give up. The most important thing is that you did something. Most people only talk and dream of getting rich. You've done something. I'm very proud of you."
He encourages them to seek guidance from his own father, a businessman reputed to possess financial savvy. This leads them to work for Mike's dad, who stipulates that they will need to learn through practical experience rather than lectures. He offers them a job working at one of his convenience stores for 10 cents an hour, a very low wage. Despite being offered low pay, Kiyosaki and Mike endure grueling work for minimal reward, struggling against the urge to quit. After 3 weeks, Kiyosaki becomes frustrated and confronts Rich Dad about the unfair wages. Rich Dad uses this as a teaching moment. He explains that most people are trapped in a cycle of working for money, letting fear and desire control their decisions. The fear of not having money drives them to work, and once they get paid, desire takes over and they spend it on pleasures, which starts the cycle all over again.
The poor and the middle class work for money. The rich have money work for them.
Rich Dad teaches them about the emotional traps of fear and greed that lead many into financial struggles. Money is in control of their emotions and hence their souls. He explains that true learning occurs outside the traditional educational pathway, and that they need to learn to use their emotions to think, not think with their emotions. Challenges them to rise above mere financial dependence, urging them to find opportunities that allow their money to generate passive income. He emphasizes personal responsibility.
Don't blame me for your problems. If you realize that you're the problem, then you can change yourself, learn something, and grow wiser.
He tells them that most people have a price, and they work for that price, but the wealthy look for ways to have money work for them. Ultimately, Kiyosaki and Mike learn that through creativity and entrepreneurial spirit, they can take charge of their financial futures and avoid the pitfalls of simply working for money. The lesson is not to work for money, but to create systems where money works for you. Chapter 3. Lesson 2. Why teach financial literacy? By 1990, Mike had taken over his father's empire and succeeded in growing it even larger. Kiyosaki retired at 47, emphasizing that retirement means financial freedom rather than ceasing work. His wealth grows automatically, likened to a fully grown tree providing shade without constant care. The tree metaphor illustrates how assets, once fully developed, generate ongoing income without continuous labor. When asked for advice on achieving wealth, Kiyosaki stresses the importance of financial literacy. He recalls a meeting of wealthy businessmen in 1923 at the Edgewater Beach Hotel in Chicago. 7 of the world's wealthiest men were present, including Charles Schwab, president of the largest independent steel company, Samuel Insull, president of the world's largest utility, and Richard Whitney, president of the New York Stock Exchange. By 1948, many of these men had faced financial ruin, with some dying penniless or in disgrace. This reveals that money alone cannot solve problems. Rather, financial intelligence, adaptability, and continued education are crucial for long-term success. If you want to be rich, you need to be financially literate. Kiyosaki shares that many people fail financially, not due to lack of income, but because they confuse assets with liabilities. His rich dad taught him and Mike that
Rich people acquire assets. The poor and middle class acquire liabilities, but they think they are assets.
an asset is something that puts money in your pocket, while a liability is something that takes money out of your pocket. This simple distinction is the foundation of financial intelligence. Most people fail to realize that in life, it's not how much money you make, it's how much money you keep. They often ask,
What should I invest in?
rather than first understanding the fundamental difference between assets and liabilities. Kiyosaki used simple drawings to teach the difference. The cash flow pattern of an asset shows income coming in, while expenses go out. For a liability, money flows out for expenses associated with it. He illustrates that the wealthy focus on building their asset column, acquiring things that generate income. The poor only have expenses, and the middle class buys liabilities they think are assets. They also take on debt to buy things they believe are assets, like a house or car, which actually create ongoing expenses. The wealthy earn money, but they reinvest it into income-generating assets that then pay for their expenses. Cash flow tells the story of how a person handles their money. The primary cause of financial struggle is simply not knowing the difference between an asset and a liability. This ignorance leads people to make poor financial decisions that keep them trapped in the rat race. Many individuals misconstrue their homes as assets. Rich Dad taught Kiyosaki that your home is not an asset. It's a liability because it takes money out of your pocket every month through mortgage payments, property taxes, utilities, and maintenance. This misconception increases expenses and entrenches people in debt and financial instability. Financial literacy is more important than hard work. Kiyosaki urges building an asset column for consistent cash flow to avoid debt cycles. He argues that schools teach scholastic and professional skills, but not how to have money work for us. We are taught to work for money, but never how to make money work for us. An intelligent person hires people who are more intelligent than they are. Kiyosaki learned that financial education involves understanding that money only accentuates the cash flow pattern running in your head. If your pattern is to spend everything you earn, getting a raise will only increase your spending. If your pattern is to acquire assets, more income will simply allow you to acquire more assets. True wealth originates from managing cash flow and investments effectively. The significance of financial education and asset acquisition cannot be overstated. Illiteracy, both in words and numbers, is the foundation of financial struggle. To escape the rat race, one must learn to make their money work for them, rather than working for money their entire lives. Chapter 4. Lesson 3. Mind Your Own Business. In a memorable talk at the University of Texas, Ray Kroc, the founder of McDonald's, asked a group of MBA students what business he was in. After they all responded that he was in the hamburger business, Kroc famously replied,
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not in the hamburger business. My business is real estate.
Kroc explained that the true value of McDonald's franchises lay in the land on which they were built, making McDonald's one of the largest real estate owners globally. This lesson highlighted the importance of focusing on asset accumulation rather than solely working for wages. While Kroc sold hamburgers, his wealth came from owning the prime real estate where the restaurants operated. The chapter discusses how many people spend their lives working for others, resulting in little to no wealth accumulation. Kiyosaki argues that understanding the distinction between one's profession and business is crucial. While a profession refers to one's job, for example, being a banker, a teacher, a doctor, true business ownership involves building assets that generate income independent of your labor. Kiyosaki asserts that financial security comes from focusing on one's asset column rather than just chasing higher income through raises, promotions, or additional jobs. Most people work their entire lives for someone else, making other people rich. The secret is, mind your own business. He believes that many individuals equate personal possessions, like homes and cars, with true assets, which is a misconception that can lead to financial distress. A car loses value the moment you drive it off the lot. A house requires constant maintenance and expenses. These are not assets in the true financial sense. He advises readers to identify and acquire real assets that appreciate and generate income. True assets include
Businesses that do not require your presence. You own them, but they are run by others. Stocks, bonds, income-generating real estate, notes, promissory notes. Royalties from intellectual property, music, books, patents. Anything else that has value, produces income or appreciates, and has a ready market.
the key takeaway is to mind your own business, which means to prioritize asset growth over working solely for income. He emphasizes the importance of financial literacy in making informed investment decisions. Kiyosaki mentions the distinction in purchasing habits between the wealthy and the middle class. The wealthy acquire assets first and use the generated income for luxuries. The middle class often buys luxuries on credit, creating liabilities that drain their income before they can invest. To become financially secure, a person needs to mind their own business. Keep your daytime job, but start buying real assets, not liabilities or personal effects that have no real value once you get them home. The old money people, the long-term rich, built their asset column first. Then the income from that column bought their luxuries. A true luxury is a reward for investing in and developing a real asset. In conclusion, Kiyosaki encourages readers to keep their daytime jobs while diligently working to build and maintain their asset columns, fostering financial independence and security. Focus on acquiring assets, and let those assets work for you. Chapter 5, Lesson 4, The History of Taxes and the Power of Corporations. Kiyosaki discusses the contrasting views on wealth, taxes, and corporations through the lens of his two father figures, his poor dad, a government bureaucrat, and his rich dad, a capitalist. He critiques the Robin Hood ideal and explores how tax systems have evolved to disproportionately affect the middle class. He recalls being taught that Robin Hood was a hero who stole from the rich to give to the poor. His rich dad, however, viewed Robin Hood as a crook. Rich Dad explained that the contemporary sentiment that the wealthy should bear the financial burden of society leads to greater taxation on the middle class, particularly educated individuals.
It is this idea of Robin Hood, or taking from the rich to give to the poor, that has caused the most pain for the poor and the middle class.
Historical context shows that taxes in England and America began as temporary measures to fund wars, but eventually became permanent. Originally, taxes were imposed primarily on the wealthy, but as government grew, the tax burden trickled down to the middle class. Rich Dad observed,
Once government got a taste of money, the appetite grew.
"The advantage of corporations is a key lesson. The rich utilize corporations to limit their financial risk and reduce tax burdens. Corporations are viewed as advantageous because they offer legal protections, allowing wealth to be safeguarded while taking advantage of tax breaks unavailable to individuals." Rich Dad would say,
Your dad and I are exactly opposite. He's a government bureaucrat, and I am a capitalist.
Kiyosaki explains that if you work for money, you give the power up to your employer. If your money works for you, you keep and control the power. The wealthy understand that knowledge of financial systems and tax codes is crucial for capitalists to navigate and leverage these systems effectively. The first lesson of having money work for me, as opposed to working for money, is really all about power. He shares that many employers feel that advising their workers to mind their own business is bad for business, but Rich Dad taught him to always think like an owner. Why not own the ladder instead of climbing it? Financial IQ is made up of knowledge from 4 broad areas of expertise: accounting, understanding financial statements, and the ability to read and interpret numbers. This is the most important skill for assessing a business's health.
If you want to build an empire, the more money you are responsible for, the more accuracy is required, or the house comes tumbling down.
Investing, the science of how money makes money. This involves strategies and creative ways to turn money into more money. Understanding markets, grasping market dynamics between supply and demand. This includes understanding the technical aspects of markets as well as the emotional components that drive them. Law, utilizing legal structures like corporations to protect and grow wealth. Knowledge of tax advantages and legal protections can mean the difference between keeping your wealth and losing it to lawsuits or excessive taxes. Kiyosaki concludes that those who grasp these financial principles can escape the cycle of being overtaxed, enabling them to build wealth effectively. He emphasizes the importance of owning a corporation to optimize tax strategies and protect assets, positioning oneself for financial independence apart from traditional employment. If you know you're right, you're not afraid of fighting back. Chapter 6, Lesson 5, The Rich Invent Money. The chapter reflects on the story of Alexander Graham Bell and the rejection he faced from Western Union when trying to sell his patent for the telephone. Western Union executives dismissed the invention as a toy and passed up the opportunity to acquire the rights for what would become one of the most valuable patents in history. This historical context sets the stage for a discussion on self-doubt and the importance of courage in achieving financial success. Kiyosaki emphasizes that self-doubt holds many people back, and it is often boldness rather than intelligence that leads to success outside of academic settings. Often in the real world, it's not the smart that get ahead, but the bold. The new wealth created in our time cannot be contained by boundaries and borders. It is created by people who have the courage to think differently and take calculated risks. He stresses that financial intelligence requires both technical knowledge and the courage to take risks. It's not just about having the information, it's about having the guts to act on it. Just to have more options is his simple answer for why financial education matters. Kiyosaki shares a personal reflection on his time in Vietnam, where he recognized two characters within himself, one that is bold and daring, and another that is fearful and submissive. This duality highlights the importance of choosing bravery in facing financial challenges. He realized that old ideas are often people's biggest liability. It's simply an idea that has outlived its usefulness and is costing them money and opportunity. The chapter introduces the board game Cash Flow, which Kiyosaki created to teach financial concepts. The game simulates real-life financial scenarios, allowing players to learn about income statements, balance sheets, and cash flow management through immediate feedback on their decisions. The game encourages creative financial thinking and reflects back on one's behavior. Many players discover that their emotional reactions to winning and losing reveal their real-world money patterns. Through the game, a woman experienced the temptation to buy a boat, a doodad that would drain her financial resources. Her desire for immediate gratification threatened her long-term financial goals, illustrating how material possessions can become liabilities if not managed wisely. Kiyosaki believes we are entering an era ripe with opportunities for wealth creation, where new millionaires will emerge due to information and innovation, while those who resist change will be left behind. He encourages readers to embrace change, continuously develop financial literacy, and be willing to take calculated risks. The key takeaway is to adapt to change, be proactive in financial education, and recognize that success often comes from daring to act and think differently in a rapidly changing environment. The new wealth cannot be contained by boundaries and borders. Chapter 7. Lesson 6. Work to learn, don't work for money. In this chapter, Kiyosaki recounts an interview with a young reporter that highlights the underappreciated importance of sales skills in achieving financial success. The reporter, a bright young woman from a university newspaper, expresses her aspirations to be a best-selling author, but feels constrained by her job at a newspaper. Kiyosaki suggests she take a sales training course, encountering her resistance due to her educational background in English literature and disdain for sales. She says,
I have a master's degree in English literature. Why would I want to go to school to learn to be a salesperson? That's for people who aren't educated.
This response reflects a common bias against sales as a lesser profession. Kiyosaki explains that the world is filled with talented poor people, brilliant artists, musicians, writers, and professionals who earn far less than they deserve because they lack essential skills like sales and marketing.
You want to know a little about a lot.
Rich Dad would say. The idea is that most individuals are just one skill away from great wealth. Kiyosaki argues that instead of focusing solely on job security and specialization, a notion endorsed by his educated dad, one should strive for diverse knowledge and skills. The world is filled with talented poor people because they focus on perfecting one skill but never learn to sell or market themselves. He shares personal experiences navigating various career paths, including working at Xerox to confront his fear of sales. He knew he had to overcome his shyness and fear of rejection, so he took a job specifically to learn sales. He recommends seeking jobs based on learning opportunities rather than immediate financial rewards. This approach can help avoid being trapped in the rat race, defined as living paycheck to paycheck while fulfilling job responsibilities without advancing. He critiques the conventional wisdom of specialized education, advocating for a broader skill set that includes sales, marketing, and communication, crucial for success. JOB is an acronym for just over broke. Many people are just one skill away from great wealth, but never acquire that skill because they're too focused on their paycheck. Wealthy individuals understand the importance of giving. Kiyosaki contrasts this with his educated dad, who worked hard for financial security but struggled to give due to a lack of excess funds. Rich Dad taught him that if you want to receive, you need to give. If you want to learn about money, teach it to someone else. Kiyosaki embodies both perspectives from his rich dad, who values financial savvy, and his educated dad, who focuses on traditional job security, showing the complexity of finding a balance between financial success and social responsibility. He stresses that education should be reformed to better equip individuals for financial literacy, advocating for a proactive approach to learning throughout one's career. Life is much like going to the gym. The most painful part is deciding to go. Once you start, it becomes easier. The same applies to learning new skills. The hardest part is beginning, but the rewards are worth the effort. Chapter 8: Overcoming Obstacles. In this chapter, Kiyosaki discusses the challenges that even financially literate individuals may face in achieving financial independence. He identifies 5 key obstacles that prevent people from realizing their financial potential, regardless of their knowledge. 1. Fear. Kiyosaki explains that everyone, including the wealthy, experiences fear, particularly the fear of losing money. The distinction lies in how individuals manage that fear. Successful people view failure as an opportunity for growth, not as a defeat. He uses the example of the Texas mentality. People in Texas embrace risk and potential losses with pride. They say,
Just remember the Alamo.
not as a story of defeat, but as a story of courage and fighting spirit. If you hate losing, play it safe. If losing makes you weak, play it safe. But the primary difference between a rich person and a poor person is how they handle that fear. Failure inspires winners and defeats losers. It is the biggest secret of winners. They know that failure is part of the journey to success. 2. Cynicism. Cynicism, represented by the Chicken Little mentality, can paralyze individuals from taking action. Doubts and outside negativity deter people from recognizing and seizing investment opportunities. Cynics criticize, but winners analyze. Cynics never win. Unchecked doubt and fear create a cynic. Kiyosaki shares a story about a real estate deal where his wife doubted the numbers, but he analyzed them and found the opportunity. He emphasizes the importance of analysis over criticism to identify potential paths to success.
Doing what you feel in your heart to be right, for you'll be criticized anyway. You'll be damned if you do, and damned if you don't.
3. Laziness. Kiyosaki argues that busy people often avoid necessary financial management through a misguided sense of productivity. They stay busy to avoid dealing with their finances. To combat this laziness, he suggests harnessing a bit of greed or desire for betterment to motivate oneself. Guilt is worse than greed, for guilt robs the body of its soul. Encouragingly focusing on personal gain can drive progress. Rich Dad taught him to ask,
How can I afford it?
rather than saying,
I can't afford it.
the first question opens up the brain, forces it to think and search for answers, while the second shuts it down.
4. Bad habits. Habits shape one's financial behavior more than education. Kiyosaki highlights the importance of paying oneself first before obligations to others. This principle creates motivation to seek additional income sources and fosters financial responsibility. When you pay yourself first, you create pressure to find ways to meet your other obligations, which pushes you to become more financially creative. 5. Arrogance. Arrogance stems from the combination of ego and ignorance. Individuals may fail to recognize gaps in their knowledge about finances, which can lead to poor investment choices. Kiyosaki advocates for continuous learning and humility in financial endeavors.
Arrogance is the ego talking to you when you should be listening and learning.
He recounts a story of a man who lost money in a real estate deal because he thought he knew everything and didn't seek advice. The man's arrogance cost him dearly. The lesson is that you don't know what you don't know, and humility is essential for growth. Kiyosaki reiterates that overcoming these obstacles is crucial for anyone aspiring for financial freedom. Change in mindset and behavior can lead to success.
The real world is simply waiting for you to get rich. Only a person's doubts keep them poor.
Chapter 9. Getting Started. Kiyosaki reflects on his personal journey toward wealth, emphasizing that while finding great deals is straightforward, it requires determination and a proactive mindset. He underscores that each person possesses a dormant financial genius that can be awakened through education and experience.
I believe that each of us has a financial genius within us. The problem is, our financial genius lies asleep, waiting to be called upon.
He presents 10 steps to awaken your financial genius. 1. I need a reason. Greater than reality. A strong emotional drive is crucial for overcoming challenges. Personal reasons for achieving wealth can serve as motivating forces during setbacks. A reason or purpose is a combination of wants and don't wants. You need a powerful why to sustain you through the difficult times.
Unfortunately, 90% of the Western world subscribes to the above dogma simply because it's easier to find a job and work for money.
2. I choose daily. Daily choices determine financial outcomes. The power of choice is in every dollar you spend. The rich spend wisely and prioritize assets, while others stick to poor spending habits. Every dollar represents a choice between building your asset column or funding someone else's wealth.
If you cannot get control of yourself, do not try to get rich.
3. Choose friends carefully. Surrounding oneself with financially savvy individuals encourages learning and growth. Be wary of poor influences that focus on fears and negativity regarding money. Your friends can be your greatest asset or your biggest liability.
You are what you study. Be careful what you study and learn, because your mind is so powerful that you become what you put in your head.
4. Master a formula and then learn a new one. Learning different financial strategies is essential. By mastering one investment strategy, individuals can pivot to new methods for greater success. The same formula won't work forever. Markets change, and you must adapt.
The rich know that savings are only used to create more money, not to pay bills.
5. Pay yourself first. Prioritizing personal savings and investments is vital. Self-discipline plays a significant role in achieving financial goals. If you cannot control yourself, don't try to get rich. Paying yourself first forces you to find creative ways to meet your other obligations.
Whenever you feel short or in need of something, give what you want first, and it will come back in buckets.
6. Pay your brokers. Well, good professionals are worth their fees. Investing in quality advice can lead to better financial decisions and outcomes. If you treat your advisors well, they will go the extra mile for you. 7. Be an Indian giver. This term, used in a financial context, refers to the practice of getting your initial investment back quickly while retaining the asset. Look for opportunities to recoup your capital while still owning the income-producing asset.
A true luxury is a reward for investing in and developing a real asset.
8. Use assets to buy luxuries. Instead of financing luxuries with debt, use the income from assets to fund them. This discipline ensures that you're not consuming your capital. 9. Find a hero. Having heroes in finance can inspire one to emulate their success and learn valuable lessons. By modeling the behavior and strategies of successful individuals, you can accelerate your own learning and achievements. 10. Teach and you shall receive. If you want to learn about money, teach it to someone else. Sharing knowledge reinforces your own understanding and opens doors to new insights and opportunities. Kiyosaki concludes that anyone can learn to achieve financial independence by understanding the principles of wealth creation.
Money is a powerful force. Unfortunately, people use the power of money against them.
By following these steps, you can awaken your financial genius and build lasting wealth. Chapter 10. Still want more? Here are some to-dos. In this final chapter, Kiyosaki encourages readers to embrace both the philosophy and action required for financial success. He provides a series of practical steps for those looking to enhance their financial intelligence and take action toward wealth creation. 1. Stop and assess. Take a break from current routines to evaluate what is working and what isn't. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting a different result. If your current approach isn't working, stop and reassess. 2. Seek new ideas. Look for inspiration in bookstores, especially from how-to books on topics you know little about. Kiyosaki shares how he discovered the concept of tax-lien investing from a book and then took action immediately by applying the knowledge. 3. Network with experts. Connect with individuals who have successfully navigated the path you want to pursue and seek their insights over informal meetings. Invite them to lunch or a meeting to ask for insights and tips. 4. Continuous learning. Attend classes and buy educational materials to further your understanding of investing, whether through inexpensive community classes or more expensive seminars. Financial intelligence must be maintained and updated. 5. Make offers. Approach real estate with the mindset of making multiple offers, even if they seem low. Many sellers ask for too much, and you won't know the seller's flexibility until you make an offer. Making offers is how deals start. 6. Engage with surroundings. Regularly explore neighborhoods, especially while exercising, to identify changing markets and opportunities for investment. Jogging, walking, or driving through a specific area can provide insights into changes and opportunities. 7. Think big. Small thinkers don't get the big breaks. If you want to get richer, think bigger first. Thinking big allows you to discover more significant opportunities. Kiyosaki notes that by thinking big and collaborating with others, you can negotiate better deals, such as organizing a collective purchase for discounts. 8. Historical insight. Learn from the success of small companies and the tenacity of entrepreneurs who rose from humble beginnings. Understanding past successes and failures can inform better decisions in your financial future. 9. The value of action. Emphasize the importance of taking action over mere contemplation to unlock financial rewards. Many people learn but do not act on that knowledge. Without action, financial lessons hold no practical value. Every time Kiyosaki learns something new, he takes immediate steps to implement those ideas. In the epilogue, Kiyosaki concludes with a narrative about helping a friend fund their children's college education through savvy real estate investments rather than relying on traditional savings. He illustrates the idea that financial intelligence, rather than working hard alone, can facilitate wealth growth. Starting with $5,000 and leveraging opportunities, they turned it into $1 million asset over time. The chapter stresses that money is only an idea, and it's crucial to change one's narrative around wealth and investing. Kiyosaki advocates for education, action, and sharing knowledge to pave the way for future generations' financial success.
With each dollar bill that enters your hand, you and only you have the power to determine your destiny.
The key message remains: it's one's mindset that shapes their financial destiny. Stop doing what's not working. Seek new ideas. Network with those who know more. Take action and think bigger. The real world is simply waiting for you to get rich. Only a person's doubts keep them poor.